Welcome to some new r/malicious compliance stories, where people comply to the letter, but not the spirit of a request. I hope you had a great day. Thanks for all the likes and comments on the last video. If you would like to support this channel, please hit the like button and consider subscribing if you enjoy the content. And now, let's start with the first story. It's called Old Number. This was about 10 years ago. I had just moved to Australia and gotten a new phone. But as it turns out, my number was someone else's old number. Every other week I'd get calls by a tradie who wanted to know why I wasn't on site, mate, or what I wanted done with building project ABC. Every time I explained at length that they got the wrong number, and quite often folks on the other end were absolutely rude or insisted I answered their questions or show up on site. Now, I was over it, so I googled my own number and did some digging and eventually found out the guy who had my number before, then his new number, and then I called him. I politely explained my dilemma. I pointed out that there were two websites still having his old, my now new number. I asked if he could please change this and let his contacts know about his new number and to delete the old one, as it was getting quite tedious for me. By that time I had used my number for work, visa applications and landlords and friends, and changing it would have been a huge pain. I explained all of that. Well, of course, he was just as pleasant as most of his contacts and told me something along the lines of, "I don't care, mate, that's not my problem. Get screwed, sort your own shot out, mate." Well, the universe provides, and so I got a great opportunity to do just that only a few weeks later. I received a call in the early hours of one morning from another disgruntled guy telling me he was early and demanding to know where I wanted the sand put down and how to get in. I asked what sand and was told he had a full truckload of sand as ordered and no one was on site and it was all fenced off. Very briefly did I think about launching into my explanation, but I was tired and over it and then realized the opportunity provided. I snapped back at him with no uncertainty. "Mate, it's all good. Dump it all right in the driveway, front of the fence. We'll sort it out when we get there." The guy said, "You sure, mate? It's a lot of sand." "Absolutely sure, mate. Thanks a lot." "Alright then, boss." And he hangs up. Well, I go back to bed, snoozing for another hour with a big smile, until my phone rings again, and I see it's old mate with his new number, who I had saved when I called him a few weeks ago. I pick up rather chipper, and he doesn't waste any time launching into a series of swear words. He has no access to the site, and he has to move a literal ton of sand by hand, and whether or not I told the sand guy to dump it all there. "You told me to sort this out myself. This is me sorting this out. You can remove the numbers and let your contacts know, or not. Totally up to you, mate." He was fuming, called me a few more choice words, promising to find me, and a lot more before we ended the conversation. However, the number disappeared from the internet really quickly after that, and I never got another call again. I still have my number, and every time I see a truck with sand, I chuckle to myself, thinking of this guy moving a ton of sand by hand and losing a fair few hours of labor, all because he was a douchebag and couldn't be bothered sending a few texts. The next story is called Only Parking. A few years ago, I was working in downtown Los Angeles, but living in San Diego. That's over a 175 mile per day commute. I wasn't about to put my car through that, so I took the train every morning to Union Station, then backtrack via subway to the job site. The cost of the Amtrak weekly pass was basically the same price as gas, but I thought I'd try to get that extra $3.50 per day from the subway covered, since I wasn't using the parking reimbursement in my contract. The $17.50 per week wasn't going to bankrupt me, but I figured I'd try. Came to the boss and asked, basically, since I'm not driving to work and getting reimbursed for parking at $10, could I submit my subway receipts at $3.50 and get that covered? I was told to pound sand. Now, the way the reimbursement worked was that you pulled a parking slip when you got to work and paid it at the end of the day. Then, on Mondays, you would submit all 5 parking slips from the previous week, and the $50 would be added to your paycheck. Untaxed, obviously. So every day from then on, when I took the train to work, I just walked into the parking structure and pulled a ticket. I didn't have a vehicle, and so I didn't need to worry about paying for the ticket to leave, but the contractor didn't know that. They didn't have access to the system, which is why they didn't validate everyone's parking and skipped the middleman. And as far as they knew, I was just driving in like everyone else. The third story is called Clicker Button. In my freshman year of college, I had a geography class in the largest lecture hall at the university, with around 500 students. The professor made every single student buy these stupid RF remotes with only 4 buttons: A, B, C, and D. It was nearly $100, and every student registered their own device to themselves online, so the prof could see who was clicking whatever answer. Attendance was mandatory and was 50% of our total grade. Starting with the third absence, an entire letter grade would be deducted for each time you were gone. Every day when we came to class, there was a multiple choice question on the projector. It made no difference if you choose the correct answer or not. You just had to click any button to register you were present to get the points. The screen displayed the total numbers of responses. It gets better. The professor would then play the video tutorials he had already assigned as homework to make up the bulk of his lectures. There was no reason to be in attendance unless it was an exam day, as long as you did the assigned readings and homeworks. Cue Malicious Compliance for the entire class. Pretty quickly, the size of the class physically present starts to shrink. Despite the fact that maybe only 200 students are present, somehow the total clicks still equal close to 500 by the end of week 2. By week 3, there are maybe 25 students in attendance, but still 500 clicks, and book bags full of other students' clickers. Attendance became optional after midterms. The next story is called Per Call. This was 3 years ago. I worked for a phone insurance company as a customer representative working from home. The job wasn't hard, with paid training and a 3K sign-up bonus for work-from-home employees. The job stated it was 16 per hour, and then we all got bumped to 17 once training started. In the middle of training, our supervisors told us that they were implementing a new pay policy that involved tying into more of a sales role. We now had the choice to be paid per call or hourly. Since they highlighted the choice, it made it seem like we'd have the option to stay hourly. Nope. Had to try the new pay for 6 months before you were allowed to submit a request to go back to hourly. The pay is aligned like this: $1 per call, $20 is added if a sale is made on the call, $2 if the customer was happy with the service. This was to drive sales and put in your head that without sales you aren't eating. At the beginning of the new year 2021, our system got hacked and we were down for a day. Usually I got 30 to 50 calls per day with 3 to 4 sales. When the system went down, we were given an outage script and told to hang up immediately after. I'm a very fast talker when needed and immediately saw the chance to make my biggest paycheck. In the span of a 3-day outage, I had taken over 900 calls. And my next check was the last installment of the bonus. I asked my supervisor if we will get paid the $3 per call still, and they said yes. Ended up getting a check of over 3K just for the calls from those 3 days, plus 1K for being the last installment of the bonus, plus my sales for the 2 weeks. I later got fired because the laptop they issued got reset and I couldn't log in anymore. I called in and they told me to submit a ticket. I couldn't submit a ticket because I didn't have access to the system. The last story is called Change Companies. I work at a small company delivering potable water to people who don't have access to either city water or a private well. So we deliver to the same customers pretty much every week. Some customers are great and go out of their way to make deliveries easier, or at least make sure that they don't make them any more difficult than they have to be. A few customers just don't care and expect us to make deliveries no matter what they do to make things inconvenient. Recently, one customer over the last couple of years had made several changes to the property that made making deliveries significantly more difficult. I'd spoken to my boss about them, and he laid out the conditions that would need to be met before he would consider dropping a paying customer. And they were literally just barely within the limits. And to their credit, they did keep up with their bills. I dreaded seeing their name on the delivery list every other week. Then they changed to wanting deliveries every week, because their children were moving into the house as well. After that, payments started being more sporadic. The checks we were getting changed names from the homeowner to their daughter. My boss only takes cash or checks, not credit cards, as he feels no compulsion to give any money to credit card companies, or to increase prices and pass the cost on to the customer. One day, while I was in the office doing some end-of-day tasks, the phone rang. Caller ID was this problem customer. Boss answered and I eavesdropped. It was the daughter. She wanted to start paying by credit card. Boss said no. Then she decided to drop her threat to change companies. Such hope in my heart as I saw the boss's face turn red. He hates bullies and being bullied. Boss immediately agrees that would be best and hangs up on her. Walks over to the delivery schedule calendar and crosses their name off of the list. 2 days later, I get called into the office to hear a message left by the daughter, begging us to make deliveries again. She apologized and everything. Turns out she had discovered that we were by far the cheapest option for them. One of the things that made them frustrating to deliver to was not just the physical difficulty of the delivery, but they only had a 350-gallon holding tank. It was a lot of work and time to deliver such a small amount of water. And we have the lowest minimum delivery rate in town. While all the companies around town are at about the same price per gallon, most other companies have an 800-gallon minimum delivery rate, while our minimum at the time was only 500 gallons. The boss and I shared a chuckle over the call. I don't believe he bothered with calling her back. And with that, we end today's video. Let me know what you think about the stories. On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate the stories and today's video? I hope you enjoyed the video. If you like what I do and want to support me, please subscribe and hit the like button. I hope you have a great day. Stay safe. Bye bye.